Welcome to class number 1 of the 2024 treatment course. This course is your introduction to a type of prayer that many will find odd, but I assure you it works. I'm telling you this after using this form of prayer for over 30 years, both personally and professionally. It's called spiritual mind treatment, though you might have heard it called scientific affirmative prayer. This prayer treatment, like any physical benefits that you have had from the treatment you receive from a chiropractor or a cosmetologist, this type of treatment is used to realign our thinking. It's scientific because it can be taught to others and used in any circumstances. And it's affirmative because it exists due to the concept that the universe exists to support us, not to stop us from attaining our desires. So a little background on how this came about. A man named Ernest Holmes created spiritual mind treatment. He also developed the science of mind philosophy and founded religious science. He was born Ernest Shurtleff Holmes in 1887. The founder of our movement is best described as being inquisitive. He grew up in New England in a very large family, and he asked questions of everything and everyone. He studied the works of Ralph Waldo Emerson, Judge Thomas Troward, Dr. Phineas P. Quimby, Emma Curtis Hopkins, Mary Baker Eddy and Christian Science, and countless ancient philosophers. His driving conviction that God is all there is and that we are all united in that oneness produced a large following of people from all walks of life in his time. People found comfort, hope, and purpose in the lectures he began to give publicly. Lectures during the end of the 19th century and through the first part of the 20th century were a common form of entertainment. But more than that, the teachings provided the possibility of physical healing, something that the medical profession at the time could not. Holmes became widely known throughout the United States and specifically New England, and later in the greater Los Angeles area. In 1926, he published what he believed to be a philosophy which could be used by anyone regardless of religious beliefs. That philosophy, the science of mind, eventually evolved into the churches of religious science. Holmes passed on in 1960. It's not uncommon for ministers and practitioners in this movement to use science of mind and religious science interchangeably. They aren't, and the difference will help you understand why. Religious science is the scientific approach to religion and a religious reverence in scientific law. It's a spiritual philosophy which deals with the unity of all life and which proclaims that God power exists at the center of every person. The science of mind, on the other hand, is the philosophy developed by Holmes and taught by the various organizations, spiritual centers, and churches based on religious science. It's also a registered trademark symbol owned by the Centers for Spiritual Living, the largest one of the several religious science groups. The science of mind is the science of laws of thought as they pertain to our relationship to the universal creative mind, or God, or force, or higher power, and to health, happiness, and success. In essence, science of mind is what we teach, and religious science is the mechanism of how we teach it. The book Holmes published in 1926 is what we call the Science of Mind textbook. At that time, there were only 3 steps to treatment: recognition, unification, and realization. The 4th and 5th steps, thanksgiving and release, were added in 1938 when one of the practitioners, Maud Allison Latham, took over the editorial revision of the textbook along with Holmes. While it's commonly used as a textbook, it really isn't. Like the first edition from 1926, the current edition from 1938 is a collection of Holmes' talks and lectures and edits them into various sections. If you happen to have a copy of the textbook or would like to get it, I suggest you first read the 4-part introduction and then go to chapters 16, 17, and 18. Otherwise, it's easy to get bogged down if you attempt to read it cover to cover the first time. I also recommend 2 small books written by Holmes, This Thing Called You and This Thing Called Life. The sections I mentioned from the textbook and these 2 books are the works I've read too many times to count. They are my go-to reference when I feel overwhelmed with life and need to find my way back to my roots. Also, if you are interested in learning more about the science of mind, Look for another free series I'll be posting on social media for 4 Sundays this month. Hopefully, you've had the opportunity to read the footnote on the second page of the first handout. When God comes up, it can be a trigger for some people, which most likely has to do with prior religious trainings and teachings. I also have clients or readers who are agnostic or atheist, and God really doesn't work for them. Lord knows, pun totally intended, that organized religion over the centuries has done little to unite humanity. Here's what I have to say to you from the writing, God Is. In our teachings, we have a very different concept of God as an intelligence with which we have a direct connection. But if spirit, divine love, universal intelligence, or something else works better for you, I ask that for the purpose of this discussion, you just substitute that term for God. Now, if you are atheist, I see this as the same for those of you who are in 12-step programs. Use the success of those who have gone before you, making their progress your God, if you will. Or if you prefer, use mathematical logic or science in the place of the term. Whatever the case, I honor your feelings, and I hope it won't be a stumbling block in your enjoyment, encouragement, and education. As this course continues, I'll probably be using the term God, as this is most probably the most common to most of my students. I'd like to acknowledge that treatment is not as unique as far as a matrix for prayer. Jesus of Nazareth's Sermon on the Mount and the Our Father prayer can be shown to have similarities to treatment. And it's not the only type of prayer that can be taught to others, as we'll discuss in this last class of the course. It is, however, the most direct and the most effective way I know to get myself and my clients from going through hell and returning to love. Okay, that's a very brief background for those who wanted to know who started Spiritual Mind Treatment. Let's get into the first working part of the class. The rest of the class The rest of the class ahead will focus on the nuances of the parts of treatments and some of the issues that can come up for us. Let's take a look at the first handout. As you can see, there are 5 steps of treatment. The 5 steps may have different names depending on the teacher, but they are essentially the same. The ones I use are recognition, unification, realization, thanksgiving, and release. With recognition, we are recognizing the core belief that God is all there is. In any healing, we must first turn away from the appearance of the condition and then attempt to remember a greater good that can be experienced. As the course proceeds, I'll give you additional ways that might help you make sense of this step. For this class and anything else that might challenge you, I ask that you consider the concepts or just accept them as truth. For now, I'm not here to change your beliefs or to get you to believe in the God that I have in my life, but I would like to see you just try on some new ideas for size. When we move to the second step, unification, this is where many have an issue or 2, or maybe 3. As I may have told you, I grew up in a very different kind of God, or with a very different kind of God than the one that I accept now. The unification we seek at this point is to unify ourselves with the concept of God, which we have recognized in the first step. In the Science of Mind philosophy, we are what God is, and God is all that we are. As one teacher taught me, the way God gets to express itself through you, and for heaven's sake, Terry, make sure God's having a good time. Jesus expressed the same condition in the statement, I and the Father are one. And some Christians will argue, but Jesus was God's son. To which I smile and refer them back to the account where Jesus told his followers who are amazed at his healings that greater things than this shall you do. I love that scripture. In step 3, realization, or sometimes called affirmation, is where we get to the meat of why we're treating in the first place. If all is possible with God, then what is true about spirit is also true about ourselves or another person if we're treating on behalf of someone else. This is where we feel on a gut level the truth about the situation. We speak about this in the present tense, even though we may not be experiencing that feeling at present. Next to convincing ourselves that we and God are the same, This is probably another area that gives new people cause for pause. We are, in essence, acting as if it has already occurred, or the prayer has already been answered. If you're treating about being financially prosperous and your wallet's got nothing in it, or you want a new lover and there's no one beside you, this can seem fantastical. It's not. And that's where faith comes in. Step 4. If you're handed a gift, don't you say thank you? Well, of course. So thanksgiving or acceptance is the next logical step. By giving thanks, we are making a conscious and willful acceptance that a greater truth and good already exists for us. Feelings of guilt and unworthiness very often undermine our ability to accept our good. Let me try that one again. Feelings of guilt and unworthiness very often undermine our ability to accept our good. Okay. If you are already in the habit of taking time at night to thank whoever you pray to or whatever you want to think about before you go to bed, then you're well on your way. If not, give that a chance tonight. If we can feel ourselves slipping into doubt, then we can return to step 3 until we once again feel confident in our desires. Step 5 admits that there's a power more capable of handling your issues than you. Yep, you're not in charge of the outcome, just the treatment. So the final step is release. The dreaded hows can plague us, but this is why faith is so important. Not faith in a God that's judgmental, but a faith in the truth that your desires are already in process of being fulfilled, that you have already put into motion the reason for the treatment. No, you're not going to get an email from Amazon telling you your order is being set up and it will soon be delivered, but that's exactly what's happening. The final step is to release all doubt and to conclude the treatment knowing we have the assurance that the law of mind has already produced the results that have been described within the prayer. Remember, we're living on the human plane in linear time. God time knows nothing about past, present, or future. It's all happening at the same time. Wow, that's a lot, I know. So you're ready to treat, right? What, you thought I was going to do it for you? Oh, hell no. There's a matrix before you. That's on the second page of the first handout. And I have full faith that you can follow the outline. The steps are very basic, but if you have a clear idea of what it is that you want in your life, then you'll be able to fill in those blanks, right? Don't worry. I'm not going to just let you hang out there alone. Let me give you an example just to get you started if you're new to this. And if you've been doing this longer than me, and there are some of you listening who have been, just stick around and enjoy a treatment just for you. Before we go there, please comment below if you're on my YouTube channel or hit reply in the email you received for any questions, comments, concerns, or treatment requests that you might have. I'm telling you this now because once I finish the treatment, the video will end. I encourage you to sit quietly for a few moments after that happens, just to experience your inner emotions. I hope to have you back in class next week. And if you want a quick review of what Science of Mind can do for your life, watch out for the social media invites coming on my Facebook pages. I'm Terry Keranen at my personal account and Terry Drew Keranen on my professional page, as well as on my Instagram account at Terry Drew Keranen. Okay. Take a moment for yourself. If the door to wherever you are isn't private, stop the video, get up, close the door. Okay, you're back? Okay, good. Just breathe. Most people don't breathe, at least not to the point where they'll do more than make sure we don't have a lack of oxygen that will croak. But just close your eyes and breathe. I ask that you close your eyes, as this is a way to concentrate on the words being spoken and not allowing your consciousness to wander about. Take a deep cleansing breath all the way down to your belly. Then blow it all out. Take a couple of seconds just to do this a few more times. I'm going to treat for you now. What is your most important desire right now, Or what is it that you would like to release? Take a moment to consider that question. All right. For some of you, this will be your first Science of Mind treatment. There is just one God, one presence, one spirit. That presence is God. Through me, that all-present spirit gets to express itself through and as me. All that is possible of God is always possible through me. I am not one with God. I am that which God is. I speak the word of God for the person listening to this video. I know that my desires are perfectly manifest in my life through my treatment work. It is the same for that person listening, regardless of who they are, or where they are, or what it is they desire. As long as their desire is for themselves, as long as it is for the highest good of all concerned, as long as it is desired in love, it is already done in the mind of God. I need not know how, or when, or where this treatment is fulfilled. But I know that since it is already made manifest in the mind of God, it is already a done deal. For this and so much more, I give thanks, and I give appreciation for this thing called treatment, and my ability to speak the word for myself and for others. I giggle on the fact that anything that causes me concern is gone, and I relax into the knowingness that God is in charge and all is well. And so it is.